Well, you call me a doctor, interesting. I never got the PhD twice because I had arguments with authorities. However, Imperial College sent me letters calling me Dr. Piers Corbyn, and they always do that, even though I corrected them. I did get a Doctor of Imperial College Theoretical Physics exam, but they never awarded it because I never did the thesis, because I had a row when they tried to shut me out of the college for political reasons. But they don't want to talk about that. So maybe that's why they call me Doctor. Anyway, fantastic exposition there, Haiku. Thank you very much. And I think the point he made about the resistance in China turning into potentially a new democratic fight back is really interesting, because this is what happened in Russia. The Soviets were formed through the Tsar setting up complaint committees to find out what the people were upset about. Of course, he was aiming to pick off those who were complaining. But what happened? People organised in these complaint committees and turned those into resistance committees. Those became the Soviets.
That's right.
Yes. So when Lenin said, "All power to the Soviets," a revolution followed. That was incredible. I don't know if this will happen in China, because China's a different situation. But it's very significant what is happening there. And today I want to talk about three things: the BBC in China, and the weather, and pseudoscience about the weather. So first of all, the BBC. Total hypocrisy, as Haiku says, supporting resistance to lockdowns in China and opposing it here. They never reported for a single second that we had 1 million people on the march in the resistance to lockdowns. But they report, well, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, who knows? Whatever, in China. They are total hypocrites. We were around at the Chinese embassy on the BBC and then the Chinese embassy on Friday, pointing out their hypocrisy. And we held up this fantastic little banner here, which says "Solidarity with the fight against lockdowns everywhere." And we held that up outside the Chinese embassy. And China and UK people fight back together. And then it's translated into Chinese script under the Google translator. When you translate it back, it comes back, instead of UK it says British, and instead of lockdowns it says blockades. But maybe that's what they say in China. I don't know. Very interesting. And we're going to go back there on Monday to the Chinese embassy, and we should do the BBC when we're on with it. And we're going to say, in a letter we're going to deliver to the Chinese embassy, that the BBC is utterly hypocritical and we should be supporting fights against lockdowns everywhere. And we're also going to say, obviously we have solidarity with the people resisting in China, and we're specifically going to say, do not on any account take the mRNA jab in China, because the Western agenda is to try and use the protest there to impose this deadly jab, which will kill hundreds of thousands, if not millions, in China, and of course make billions of profit for the Western medical evil institutions. That is their agenda, and we oppose it, and we will support the Chinese government in resisting the jab, and obviously oppose them in anything they do against resistors of the lockdowns. Okay, now there's a lot of things going on, and I just want to advertise some new Telegram groups. We've got a new Take Down 5G Telegram group to prepare for a big court case that's happening on the 13th of December, and also get more action happening around the country against 5G. And the important thing to know now is that if you put out, demand your local council through freedom of information demand they explain what risk assessment they've had for the 5G towers. And if they haven't had a risk assessment, they've got to take them down. So go to your councils and argue and argue and argue. Come to the new Telegram group, take down 5G and learn all about it there. There's other things going on in Telegram as well. ULEZ, Ultra Emission Zone. We have a ULEZ can't pay, won't pay Telegram group going a long time. We're going to have a big rally next Thursday outside the TfL headquarters at Southwark. And there I'm going to be delivering a sworn statement to Sadiq Khan relating to my resistance to their charges on me, where I owe £27,000 in ULEZ charges and charges on charges and charges on charges on charges, and I'm not going to pay a penny.
Yay!
We are going to take down the ULEZ and we're going to take down Sadiq Khan with it.
Yes.
And that will start on Thursday. Now, the weather. It's cold. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Well, of course. Oh, it's warm. It's
Very
global warmer. Yes, I know. The important thing happening now is there's going to be some snow. About 3 days' time. The Met Office have now said so. 3 days ahead, they suddenly announced it. We announced that snow from weatheraction.com 3 weeks ahead.
Yes.
And it's going to come to give or take a day of when we said. Because we can do long-range forecasting at weatheraction.com based on predictable aspects of solar activity. And the powers that be don't want to believe this because they have their nonsense CO2 narrative. And we're now warning that this December could be in the 5 coldest in the last 100 years. It could even be colder. It could be the coldest in the last 100 years. Will there be snow on Christmas Day? If you want to know, come to weatheraction.com and buy our forecast. That is a cheap one. And then you can read if it says yes or no and place a bet if you want to. I am not going to answer that at this point in time. But I will in due course. If you buy a forecast, you can find out. So, we know what we're doing about long-range forecasting. We know man-made climate change is bullshit. And we know the powers that be are doing geoengineering. Now, they say they're trying to control the weather. They can control the weather locally in a very small way by making it rain if there's enough water vapour. But really the purpose of geoengineering is to inject poisons in the sky which fall onto you. I'm sure that is the purpose. They're portraying it as saving the planet through climate change and putting talk in the atmosphere to shield it from the sun. However, they will never be able to do anything significant to change climate. And here I want to warn against nonsense on the internet within the movement saying, oh, they've got powers now to change weather, change climate, change everything, all this heavy rain, this or that, it's controlled by them. No, that is complete lies. It is ultra conspiracy theory nonsense, which only disempowers you. People that talk this crap, this fake science, are disempowering you. Because if it's true, it means you can do nothing. They can control you always. That is not true. Controlled opposition. Well, they probably are. Some of them are ignorant and utterly stupid. Let's be clear.
That's right.
We can predict weather long range because the massive amount of energy from the sun in form of particles even can be predicted and understood by our system of solar lunar action techniques. But there's huge amounts of energy involved. There's no way anything mankind can do to change the jet stream. It's the jet stream which dictates the weather type and climate, and we can predict that. So beware of nonsense on the internet. Because the truth is, the sun drives the weather, and man-made climate change is complete nonsense. It is a hoax not to, and their action is not to control the weather, it is to control you!
That's right.
And to summarise the reasons why we know it's false, and there's two aspects to the so-called climate change global warming theory. Well, the first one is that something up there, extra CO2, sends heat from there to here, which is warmer. So they require heat to be moved from a colder region to a warmer region. This is against the second law of thermodynamics and utter, complete nonsense. So, not surprisingly, when you look at an actual graph, that graph there, you can see that in reality, carbon dioxide level temperatures, carbon dioxide levels follow temperatures, not the other way around. So their theory is nonsense. If their theory was true, temperatures would follow CO2. 20,000 years of carefully recorded data in ice cores reveals that their theory does not work. There are other aspects of theories of man-made climate change which are also complete nonsense. One of them predicts there will be a hot spot above the equator. There would be for an extra 10 years of CO2. We predicted, using our analysis, no, if anything's going to happen, there'll be a cold swap. And there was a cold swap! Their theories on all aspects of climate change fail utterly.
That's right.
So please, come on weatheraction.com, buy a forecast, or if you can't afford it, just read. Come on to lettheuklive.com and stopnewnormal.net. Yes, sir. A question?
Yes. The public sector workers
Yes.
are starting a campaign of strikes,
Yes.
especially during winter.
Yes.
The government, from the sound what they telling the ministers and so on, they're not going to comply and meet their demands.
Yes.
What are your predictions? What is going to happen?
Well, okay. What I say about these public sector strikes, we support all workers fighting for higher wages, except I do not support nurses who are killing people fighting for higher wages. I don't care a damn what they're paid, they should stop.
That's right.
And we should go to their picket lines of the nurses and say, we will support you only if you strike against the protocols which are killing old people now.
Here, here.
And every week, every Friday, we're outside University College Hospital at 2 o'clock, remembering Eric Levy and demanding an end to those protocols. I do not go along with people that say, just support the nurses and the NHS whatsoever. No! We don't want to pay people to kill us. That is what's going on. And the other sectors in the public sector, yes, no, Unison, whatever, demanding more wages, yes, we support them. Will the government give in? No. What they'll do, they'll collude with those workers and the trade unions in order to create chaos and not give in. That is what's happened with the RMT. We've had a year of strikes for the RMT, and they've achieved nothing because they don't want to achieve anything. If they wanted to win, they would have had an all-out strike during the Queen's burial period and prevented those stupid, well, what can I say, those parasites, those princes travelling around the country shaking hands. The RMT should have had an all-out strike and then the government would have given in straight away.
Right.
But they didn't do that. They did nothing except they stopped striking for respect to the Queen. They are not there to win. They are wheeling their troops up and down the hill like the Grand Old Duke of York in order to create chaos on behalf of the World Economic Forum.
That's right.
These trade union leaders are utter traitors. When we have strikes, we want strikes to win, not to piss around and support the World Economic Forum. So any strike that happens, look into it. And if they could win, then support them. If they're not winning, well, tell them how to win. For example, the CWU, the post workers. I received 23 letters recently, altogether, mostly like you, Les, but they came in a big heap, hadn't had anything for days. Well, so it upsets normal people. If the CW wanted to win, they would just say we're going to boycott all deliveries and all collections from the mega corporations in the City of London. And all of a sudden, they would win. But they're not doing that. They're pissing around, just like the RMT, upsetting normal business, which is what the World Economic Forum wants.
Mr. Corbyn, have they not sent the bailiff yet with 27,000?
No.
That's a lot of money.
Well, my £27,000, that is probably uncollectible. The whole system is illegal. We've got a legal letter getting ready, which people can sign and resist and defy and not comply to ULEZ or anything, which I think brings me to the end of my contribution today.
Resist! Defy! Do not comply! Resist! Defy! Do not comply! Resist! Defy! Do not comply! Ladies and gentlemen, please, Piers Corbyn!